Good morning, brother. In this video, I want to talk to you about the disillusionment stage of marriage. This morning, I woke up and I was journaling about the different seasons of life, the different seasons in which we experience life, the way that life changes, the way that we change. Our body changes, our brain changes, our experience change. But the part of us that we know to be deep down inside is still us. It's still the same. But our story, how we perceive what's going on, and the story that we tell ourselves about who we are and how things are supposed to go and who we're supposed to be with and what we think we lack and all of that, that changes over time. It changes over time, and it changes in our relationship. When we first meet our wife, we have a story about who we think we are, and a story about who we think she is, and a story about how we think everything is supposed to go. And we try to live that out, and we have different phases in our relationship, different seasons. And one of those is, of course, you're very familiar with, that we all enjoyed, was the honeymoon period. That part of the relationship where everything seemed to just click, where we couldn't do any wrong, where there was always connection and intimacy and fun and flirtation and laughter, and it was magical. I mean, it really felt like it was going to go on forever. And in my journal this morning, I wrote down the time when I could remember that, the time when it was effortless. And I wrote down the beginning, and I wrote down when it started to kind of slide, when it started to slip. And the interesting thing about this working with men, talking with men, working on myself, doing my own work as a man, is that you start to see patterns emerge. You start to see timelines, and you start to recognize when things just seem to occur naturally. So for me, that was a 4-year period. I could look back and I could say, this season of life, this time here, was effortless, and that was about 4 years. It was 4 years of being together, of enjoying each other's company, of not judging each other or having huge expectations from each other, of just being present and allowing each other to be who we were, and just really enjoy that time together, enjoy each other's company. And then things started to change. And when I look back, I can certainly own my part of it and recognize where what changed was expectation started to creep in. Expectation of connection, expectation of intimacy, expectation of laughter and fun and lightness. And in that expectation came pressure to perform, pressure to be, pressure on her to be enough, to be that source of my happiness. And then as we live out the rest of that season, right, our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, we become frustrated and resentful because we've committed ourselves as men to this woman, and somehow it seems like that magic, that promise is broken, that somewhere it disappears, that life becomes very flat and functional, that we go to work all the time and we're mowing the lawn and doing repairs around the house or carrying kids to the soccer game, and life just becomes very functional. We're paying bills, and really we start to become confused as to why she's doing or not doing the things that she's doing. We feel like, it's up to her to make us feel safe and secure, to be our partner, and to ensure that life never has any bumps in the road. And that's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of expectation, and it builds up frustration and resentment in us. And then we eventually run into that disillusionment stage, that stage where we just don't believe the story anymore. And we start to either lose hope that the relationship will ever be any different. And don't worry, she's lost hope too. We either lose hope or we begin to wake up and we begin to realize that we've been trying to live out a story that was created when we were young, a story that we formulated when we observed, interpreted, and assigned meaning to things, when we watched movies and listened to music and read books and observed our parents and came up with a story about how things were supposed to go. And we came up with a story about who we wanted to be with and what that person was going to be to us and how we were going to live happily ever after and ride off into the sunset. And when we get into that disillusionment stage of our relationship, and you may be there now wondering what's next, is the next 20 years going to be like the last 20 years? And the answer to that question is, well, it depends. It depends on whether or not you create what you want for yourself. You drop the frustration and the resentment and the expectation. You let go, knowing that both of you have been trying to do your best, but you've been trying to live out a story that hasn't worked. Now, if any of what I've said has resonated with you, if any of it has made sense, then I want you to consider joining Mentoring Men. We've got a community of men where we talk about this type of thing. We talk about living authentically. We talk about getting to know what it is that we want for ourselves. And we stop looking over our shoulder to see if she approves. We stop making it her responsibility to be keeper of our happiness, to provide to us all the things that we think that we're lacking. In fact, we begin to understand that we're not lacking anything, that we have everything that we need, and that we've had everything that we've needed all along. We've just believed that we didn't, and we believed that we weren't okay. And we start to learn that we are fine as we are, that we're enough, that we don't need to perform, that we don't need to impress, that we don't need to gain somebody's appreciation and approval. And in fact, striving and struggling to try to do that has actually caused a burden, has caused stress and strain in our relationship. It has caused that frustration and friction and resentment that we're experiencing. And we learn to let go of all of that so that we can reset. And find that place in our life where we can enjoy who we're being in our life. We know that our life is not perfect, that life has challenges, but we really, really enjoy who we're being in our life. And so I want to invite you into Mentoring Men. We've got some free courses that will get you up and running, get you started, and start the conversation and start you on a new path to being able to live the life that you want to live. Because I know if you're like me, you don't want the next 20 years to be like the last 20 years. You want to be able to look at the next season of life and know that it's something that you can step into, that you can enjoy, and that you can create exactly for yourself what you want to experience in this second half of life. All right, brother, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.